It's a Tuesday afternoon. Nothing special. He's at the grocery store, third in line. Cart has the usual stuff: pasta, some chicken, a bottle of wine that's maybe a little above his budget. He's not thinking about that yet. The line moves, he reaches the register, the cashier scans everything. The total appears on the small screen: $94. He taps his card. Approved. He picks up the bags and walks out. Normal. Fine. But somewhere between the parking lot and his car, something stirs. A quiet kind of math starts running on its own, in the background, the way it always does now. $94. That's groceries. There's also the gym, the streaming services, the coffee last week, the dinner last Saturday that felt reasonable in the moment. He doesn't finish the thought. He just loads the bags into the trunk and drives home. Here's what's interesting about that moment. It wasn't a crisis. He had the money. He always has the money. And yet, he's 32. He earns $72,000 a year before tax, which comes to roughly $4,800 a month after everything is taken out. That's a real income, solid by most measures. Rent takes $1,450. That's considered reasonable in his city. Car payment, $310. Insurance on top of that, $140. Utilities, phone, internet, another $180 or so. Subscriptions he rarely thinks about, $90 when you add them all up. Groceries, like tonight, around $380 a month. Eating out and coffee, $310, some months more. Gym, clothes, personal care, maybe $150. And then there's the loan. $260 a month, still 2 years left on it. Total fixed and semi-fixed spending, roughly $3,270, which leaves about $1,530. That sounds fine. That's supposed to be fine. But last year, he actually invested $210 a month, on average. Not zero, but also not much. This is where things quietly change. Because what he's doing isn't unusual. In fact, it's almost exactly what most people his age are doing in cities that cost roughly what his does. There's a pattern here, and it's not dramatic. That's what makes it so easy to miss. Each year he gets a raise, 2, maybe 3%, sometimes a bit more. And each year, almost without planning it, his spending adjusts upward to match. A nicer apartment when the lease ends, a newer car when the old one needed repairs, a few more subscriptions. A habit that used to be occasional becomes regular. This isn't recklessness. This is just what happens when income rises slowly and the cost of a normal life keeps pace with it. Economists have a name for this: lifestyle inflation. But that term makes it sound like a choice, like something you could just decide not to do. The truth is subtler. When you earn a little more, everything you already own feels slightly out of step with what you could own. So you upgrade. Not extravagantly, just reasonably, and then reasonably again. And then your savings rate is more or less the same as it was 2 years ago, even though you're earning more. Most people don't notice this part. Let's run the numbers. $210 a month invested consistently. That's $2,520 a year. At a long-term average market return of roughly 8% per year, which is what a broad index fund has historically delivered over decades, and this is not financial advice, that money grows. Over 10 years, approximately $38,000. Over 20 years, approximately $115,000. Over 30 years, roughly $283,000. That's real. That's not nothing. But here's what changes the story. If he invested $500 a month instead, about $290 more than he currently does, the 30-year number becomes roughly $670,000. If he found $750, over $1 million. The difference between $210 and $750 isn't the difference between a poor person and a rich person. On a $72,000 salary, that gap is about spending choices, subscriptions, how often he eats out, whether the next car is new or used. That $540 monthly difference over 30 years at that return is roughly $780,000. The math isn't motivational, it's just math. And the thing about compounding is that it doesn't care about your intentions. It only responds to what you actually put in, every month, every year. But knowing this doesn't automatically change anything, because the harder part isn't the math. The harder part is the pull. He lives in a city where most of his colleagues seem to spend freely. Dinners out, weekend trips, nice apartments, and most of them aren't dramatically wealthier than he is. They're just spending what they earn. And from the outside, it looks fine. There's a particular kind of social pressure that's almost invisible because it doesn't come from anyone pushing you. It comes from the general shape of what a normal life looks like in your neighborhood, in your industry, among your friends. And it's not manipulative. Nobody's trying to make him spend more than he should. It's just that the default setting of modern life in a developed country is expensive. Here's another layer. The spending that's hardest to cut usually isn't the subscriptions or the gym. It's the things tied to how you feel about yourself. The restaurant that's a little nicer than you need. The apartment in the neighborhood that signals something. The clothes that say you've made it, even slightly. These aren't frivolous in the sense of being stupid. They're functionally emotional. They do something, which is exactly what makes them so sticky. Fast forward 15 years. He's 47. He's earned more. He's spent more. His savings rate has stayed roughly the same. He has something, maybe $140,000 invested, maybe a little more. That's genuinely better than most. He's not in trouble. But he's also not free. That's the word, actually. Free. Not rich, not comfortable. Free. Free in the specific sense of if he wanted to take a 6-month break from work, could he? If something he cared about came along, a project, a change, a person, could he choose it without calculating how much it would cost him? The thing lifestyle inflation quietly erodes isn't your bank account directly, it's your margin. Margin is the gap between what you earn and what you need. It's the space that allows for choice. And when lifestyle tracks income too closely, the margin stays thin, even as the income grows. A person earning $40,000 a year with low fixed costs can sometimes have more real freedom than someone earning $90,000 with a life built to match it. This is the part most people don't notice until they're deep in it. There's no crisis, no mistake, just a quiet accumulation of reasonable decisions and less room to move. There's a different way to see this. Not better necessarily, just different. Some people, the ones who seem to build something over time without appearing to deprive themselves, aren't usually doing anything dramatic. They're not living in studios or refusing to eat at restaurants. What they've done often is treat their investment amount as a fixed cost, like rent, like a phone bill. Before the money lands in their spending account, a portion is already gone, sent somewhere else automatically. Not because they're more disciplined, but because they've structured things so discipline isn't required. They also tend to think about lifestyle decisions slightly differently. Not, can I afford this, which almost always has the answer yes, but does this represent a trade I actually want to make? That's a subtler question, and it doesn't require austerity, it just requires occasional awareness. The other thing they seem to have is a long time horizon. They don't think about what their portfolio is worth today, they think about what they're building. And they've accepted that building is slow and quiet and mostly invisible until it isn't. The interesting shift isn't a financial one. It's almost perceptual. They've made peace with progress that can't be seen month to month. That's rarer than it sounds. He gets home, puts the groceries away. Later, he opens his bank app. He scrolls through the month's expenses. He's seen this before. The numbers are all familiar. He closes it. He doesn't make a decision tonight. There's no revelation, no plan. But something has shifted slightly. A question he's sitting with now, not anxiously, just there. At what point does comfortable become stuck? He puts the phone face down. Outside, the city keeps going. People making the same small, reasonable choices he makes. Some of them building something without knowing it. Others running exactly in place, comfortably, for a long time. The math doesn't care which one you are. It just keeps running. If this gave you a clearer way to think about money, consider subscribing.